You are Locked On Dodgers POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I have two words for this game. Robot umpires. Robot umpires. That was ridiculous. That guy was just terrible. Welcome to the Locked On Dodgers postcasts on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. Place to hang out whenever game is done. We come on right after the game and break it down for you. I am Pete Fox, your host. You can also listen on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. 3-2 the final. Orioles steal one. Evidently, the umpire was in their back pocket. He must be from Maryland or something. Again, I'm Pete Fox, host of the Locked On Dodgers postcasts, covering sports in LA dating back to 2007. Also worked NBC Sports Radio and ESPN LA. This one was one that really felt like the Dodgers had many, many different times. I mean, I would start by saying they were all over Irvin in the early part of the game, but they only produced 2 runs. The only 2 runs. They seemed to be all over him, but they just couldn't produce anything with runners in scoring position. 1 for 8, but they didn't get any favors from that umpire. Jeez, just brutal. That call, usually it's one bad one here or there, but the at-bat in the 8th inning, Will Smith got jobbed on all 3 of them. And of course, Nando and Los Dodgers World Series champs believe it's all Dave Roberts' fault. Dave Roberts needs to argue. Well, I agree and don't at the same time. It's not going to change anything. All it would have done is get Dave Roberts thrown out of the game, and maybe that fires them up. I don't know, but yeah, that was brutal. I mean, it's so brutal that all Joe Davis could say on the call is oof. It's just, it's awful. When are they going to pull their head out and do something at the very minimum? Give them an opportunity to review it, right? Again, that wouldn't take but 10 seconds. Is that a ball or a strike? That was a strike. That was a ball. It's right there. It's right in front of our face. I don't understand. Only from the standpoint of we want to get it right. Like, this is right, this is wrong. It's a strike, it's not a strike. Every other sport, if they have the opportunity to implement technology to get it right, they do. Tennis, football's doing it now. Basketball on fouls, that's as arbitrary as it comes. They're reviewing them. What is the holdup other than just traditionalism? We are locked in traditionalism. We have to have a human. No, you don't. At least give them an opportunity to review, like in the late innings or something. You get 2 or 3 strike call reviews, something to make it fair. These batters are just so frustrated. They're just like, you can see them throwing. Like Will Smith is like, of course you're going to call that a strike. And that one, you know, it's one of the comments was he should be protecting the plate. Fair point. And, you know, the Dodgers don't have a lot of guys that go up there with a 2-strike mentality. Will Smith, I'd say, is potentially one of them. Will Smith's been scuffling a little bit, starting to find it again, but definitely not hot. But if there's a guy that has a short enough swing to protect, it's Will Smith. But those calls were brutal. And then in the 9th, the one on Edman was also brutal. Again, I don't know that this really changes the outcome, but when you're fighting an uphill battle like that, I'm just beside myself. I know it sounds like I'm making excuses, but this was a tight game, and it would have been nice to have it be fair. Like, this is a strike. That's a ball. Let's call it like it is. Imagine how different this game would have been. As Oral put it jokingly, if he walks, that's his 6th ball of the game. I mean, of the at-bat, right? I mean, if it was a robot umpire or a virtual umpire, Will Smith is on base. I think it changes the complexion of the game. It's not Chris Taylor's fault they didn't win this game. I'm surprised there hasn't been any. I can't believe we DFA'd Jay Hay and kept Chris Taylor. Surprised. I thought you guys would be all over that. By the way, I don't know if you heard today or not, but reportedly Jason Hayward signing a deal with the Houston Astros. So that's how mad he is at the Dodgers, going to their mortal enemy. Well, he's just trying to find a job. You got to, give him credit for that. But Chris Taylor hit that ball hard in the ninth. The Dodgers just did nothing with runners in scoring position. Let's look at the eighth inning. Shohei Ohtani struck out looking, was not protecting the plate, was not trying to get on base. I don't know what he was looking at. That ball was a good pitch, right? It was a little bit outside, caught the edge. It was the right call by the umpire. But you're the leadoff guy in a one-run game in the eighth inning. Why are you watching that ball? Why aren't you protecting? I don't know. And then Mookie gets on with a single, stolen base. So got into scoring position. And then Teoscar swinging. That was awful. Horrible pitch. Again, not trying to get on base, not protecting the plate. Just undisciplined, right? As Oral put it, his want to was way too high. Okay, I give him credit for wanting to, but be a better hitter. Be more in the moment. Know the count. Know the situation in the game. Just be better. Like that was not good enough in that position. And then Will Smith got jobbed by the umpire. So, it was just a tough one, really tough one. We'll get into Jack Flaherty's performance here in a little bit. I thought he was good. I thought he's a battler. I think he's a battler. I know he's a battler. And I come away from that performance thinking I'm glad he's a Dodger. I look at basically the jams that he gets out of. It's pretty amazing. And Mark Pryor came out at one point when he was in a jam and kind of just gave him an opportunity to take a breath, refocus, finish the frame. And he did. You got to love that kind of tenacity. Jack Flaherty is a guy you want on your team. I'm happy he's pitching for us. Even though he got the loss today, gave up 2 home runs, still a nice performance. I think he did more than enough. 3 runs on 6 hits. It's pretty good. Dodgers didn't do a whole lot at the plate. Gave up the 2 home runs. First one on a fastball right down Main Street, and the second one on a slider that didn't do a whole lot of anything. So I guess you could say he made 3, maybe 4 mistakes all day. So I think from the standpoint that the other guys we have going in this series do not provide a lot of confidence. BC pointed it out here. Thank you. Bueller, Bobby Miller, the next 2 starters could be a sweep from the Orioles. That would not be good. I don't necessarily agree with that. One of those, they're not going to get swept by the Orioles. I mean, they're a good team. Let's not overlook what's happening on the other side of the field in the other dugout. They're very good, as they would say all the time. They still do. Tip your cap to those guys. They took advantage and they got hits that were, crucial. They took care of it. Dodgers did not. Dodgers had 7 hits, 2 runs. 1 came on a sac fly. And then Teoscar, who's starting to get rolling again. So an okay performance from him, but in high leverage situation, not good enough. 1 for 4. And with the RBI, he's batting 264 now. Will Smith 0 for. Shohei 2 hits on 2 pitches in his first 2 at bats. That was a nice piece of hitting in his first at bat. Real nice to get his hands pulled in like that. Pull that ball to right field. That was sweet. And then the second at bat, again, first pitch swinging, caught it off the end of the bat, a cue ball up the middle. That again shows you how strong he is. So nice piece of hitting from him early in the game, low leverage, late in the game, high leverage, standing up there like a statue. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Mookie Betts had a hit, Edman a hit, Rojas a hit, Muncy 0 for. Muncy was up in some crucial situations and did not take care of business tonight. And Kike 1 for 3. Somebody was suggesting that they needed a pinch hit Kike instead of Chris Taylor. I was like, he started. You can't, it's not basketball. You can't put him back in the game. Yeah. All right. We'll take the first break. This is the Locked On Dodgers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. By the way, tonight's episode of the Locked On Dodger postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. This is the Locked On Dodgers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. You can also listen on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. That's where you find Jeff and Vince, who do the Locked On Daily Dodgers podcast. You make them your first listen, and then you come here to the postcast right after the game to make us your second listen. We'll do the Diamond Dogs list after this, and we'll get into Jack Flaherty's 5Ks. Interesting pitch selection in those 5Ks. We'll do that right after the break. Tonight's episode of the Locked On Dodgers podcast brought to you by SupplyHouse. Get supplies from the site that's made for skilled trades. SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, h-vac, and electrical products online. h-vac, by the way, stands for heating, ventilation, and AC, in case you were wondering. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business, and you can talk to a real person every time, which I'm a big fan of. Pros and skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Masters program. Every trade master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. All right, the Dodgers fall in this one, lose a tight one, 3-2. The umpire did the Dodgers absolutely no favors, but they didn't do themselves any favors either. It's just hard to overlook in crucial situations when balls are clearly outside of the strike zone and he's calling them strikes, ringing guys up. It's like, what, we're trying to get on base here. What do we, what? That's a ball. That's a ball. That's a ball. Like four. He missed 4 in the final 2 innings. That's just ridiculous. That's like one here or there. Okay. And like those were just obvious bad calls. Terrible. Jack Flaherty went 6, got out of a jam, made a heroic web gem, saved his life practically. I mean, that line drive was one of those things. I don't know if you guys watched any badminton or ping pong during the Olympics. I watched a fair amount of it because I like to watch sports that I don't normally watch. Like I didn't watch any basketball, none, because I watch basketball all the time. But ping pong and badminton, don't ever watch that. So I watch those kind of things at the Olympics. But those two sports happen so fast. Most of the time, you don't see what's happening. They have to play it back in slow-mo to see, oh, okay, that was awesome. You know, volleyball too, on kills, like it happens so fast, especially in the men's game. You're just like, I didn't see that. I didn't even see him touch it. Like it's next thing I know, it's on the ground. That's what that line drive was at Jack Flaherty's head. It happened so fast. You were like, what? Look out, incoming, take cover. And he just fielded it. I mean, I would say 99% reflex, but you know, he didn't have his head on the ball. It wasn't like he just flailed at it and caught it. So maybe it's more like 80% reflex. And, you know, he made a nice little move to get out of the way and catch that ball. That's just got to be life flashing before your eyes. That was vicious, but a sweet play there from him. The thing about his 5Ks that I thought was really interesting, all of them except the one on a fastball. Usually, I mean, I take note of that stuff because it's nice to see when they mix it up, right? Because when you get to an 0-2 count or when you get to a 2-strike count, you just keep throwing the same pitch in that strike 2 position. the opposition is to get comfortable with it. Fastball, even up. Generally speaking, that's a good way to use the fastball as a strikeout pitch if it's up. But the first two were pretty right down the pipe. And then for the fourth strikeout, a knuckle curve in the dirt. And then the fifth one was a fastball as well. So he was relying on that fastball. Obviously, that's his best pitch. The slider got hit out of the ballpark. The first home run was on a fastball too. So he didn't have a ton of other stuff working great. The knuckle curve works very well for him, but he didn't throw it a lot tonight. So the fact that he got through 6, I thought was kind of a miracle, but wasn't, getting a lot. The whiff rate, as they like to call it, wasn't terribly high. Balls in play, did enough to get guys out, and that's all you need. So hopefully over the next 2 games, whether it's Buehler or Bobby Miller, one of those guys shows up and pitches, because if they come out and perform the way they have in the last outings from both of those guys, the last multiple outings from both of those guys, you are right. We're in trouble unless the offense just gets rolling. Obviously, Freddie Freeman not in the game tonight. I guess you could say that's part of the reason the offense was a little bit down. They did have 7 hits, so it wasn't like they were completely baffled. They just didn't get any timely hits. So Freeman's been a little cold of late, probably because he had a fracture in his finger. He's been dealing with it. You got to give the guy credit for battling through. So they said he was available, but did not use him, which is fine. He needs a break. And hopefully when he comes back, whenever that is, he'll be ready to go. I look at the offense and I feel like everything's fine. It could have been better. They could have used a couple more hits. I think I'm most worried about the pitching. The bullpen was great tonight, but I'm most worried about Buehler and Bobby Miller over the next 2 days. And then right around the corner, off to Arizona to face the Diamondbacks. It's this stretch right now is just uphill sledding. Not easy. I look at this Orioles team and I go, I don't really understand why they're good, but they are. A bunch of youngsters, and I don't follow them at all. They have a remarkable story that in 2021, they lost 110 games. So that means they won 52 games. And then 2 years later, they won 101. That's the biggest turnaround in the history of baseball. So give them credit for, putting together this group of youngsters. How about that kid, Jackson Holiday? Does he look like he's 17? I mean, he's like 22 or something, 23 maybe, but wow, what a baby face, man. Beautiful swing, not doing a whole lot as a youngster. He's, batting 175, but I was like that. They were telling the story about his meteoric rise to the major leagues. He's 20. I was way off. He's 20 years old. But yeah, he moved through the ranks rather rapidly, has a grand total of 0 home runs. Nice swing though. It's just not doing a whole lot. Kind of reminiscent of Gavin Lux, who obviously has it going, got on base as a pinch hitter in the 9th. That was nice to see. Nice at bat, worked the walk, batting .333 since the All-Star break. So he's still got it going. It's, they did just about everything that they could tonight to get into the position to get a clutch hit. They just didn't have the clutch hit. So I think what will rest our hopes and I don't want to say dreams, but our hopes on coming out of this series with at least one is that the offense will continue to hit the ball the way they have through this series. And another fact that's working in the Dodgers' favor against the Orioles is that they've had 3 or fewer hits over 4 of their last 8 games. So they're due tomorrow for a game with 3 or fewer hits. It's like every other game, seemingly, they produce some offense and then they go in the tank for a little bit. So they haven't really been all that hot of late. So we're catching the Orioles at a really, really good time where they're not terribly hot right now. What's their over their last 10? They're 5-5 with the win tonight. So that's good news. And then for tomorrow, the starting pitcher who started the All-Star game for the American League, Corbin Burns, since the All-Star break, as if he participated in the home run derby, but if there was a pitcher's home run derby, since the All-Star break, he has come back to earth. He's not nearly the pitcher he was in the first half of the season. So another thing working in the Dodgers' favor. Here is tonight's Diamond Dogs list. Shohei Ohtani for number 5. First pitch swinging of the game, single to right. It was a really, really nice piece of hitting. Pulled his hands way in, got through the ball, got his body out of the way, squared one up to right field for the first hit of the game on the first pitch. For number 4, Tommy Edman, a 1-out triple to left. That was in the second inning. Scored on a Miggy sack fly, which came shortly thereafter to tie the game at 1. For number 3, Teoscar Hernandez, first pitch swinging, a 2-out single for an RBI in the third. It went to center field. Ohtani, who had gotten on in the second with another single, a cue ball off the end of the bat, scored there to make it 2-1 Dodgers. For number 2, Kike Hernandez, a leadoff double to left in the 5th. Also first pitch swinging. For number 1A, Mookie Betts, a 1-out single in the 8th, first base runner since the 5th inning for the Dodgers. So they went through the bullpen, really shut them down. Once they got Irvin out of the game, they couldn't really find anything as far as getting on base. So Mookie broke that open a little bit. Unfortunately, left him stranded. And then for number 1B, Miggy Rojas, a single in the 9th with 1 out to put the tying run on base in the bottom of the 9th. But the Dodgers were unable to plate him and tie the game, and they lose this one 3-2. So 3 out of their 5 wins on this homestand were come from behinds, but not tonight. They've now won 12 of their last 17. So they're okay. I'm not too terribly worried. Nando's question: how many times is Dino Ebel going to strike out Chris Taylor during batting practice? That's not nice. That is not nice. Final break. When we come back, this is where I'm supposed to tease and tell you something interesting to stick around for, and then you go, oh, I want to hear what the answer to that is. Sadly, I don't have anything. I do not have anything. I don't have a tease right now. I'm sorry. Sorry, Sam, if you watch the show. I do not have a tease. Oh, I do. Okay, I got one. Here we go. I'll tell you what was great about Jack Flaherty's start to this game. It's the Locked On Dodgers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. The place to hang out when every game is done. You can also listen on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. We appreciate you making us your source for your team every day. Tonight's episode of the Locked On Dodgers postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, of course, because it's America's #1 sports book. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of the NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. And if you've never had YouTube TV, if you're still stuck with like a cable provider, let me recommend YouTube TV. It is fantastic. Don't currently have it at the time, but I have had it for a long period of time. So I visited a friend recently who had it, and I kind of was like, gotta miss YouTube TV. I really like it. But I'm with Hulu now, and my daughter loves the Disney, and I love the ESPN Plus. So I'm kind of locked in with Hulu, but definitely I will highly recommend YouTube TV. And the NFL Sunday Ticket is also a winner chicken dinner. If you love football and you've never had that, that is as Colin Cowherd likes to say, a meat sandwich of football. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, Dodgers fall in a tight one, 3-2 Orioles get a couple of home runs, and that would be enough for them. Jack Flaherty started the game for the Dodgers and looked very good coming out of the box. 1, 2, 3, 9 pitches. That's the way we like to start a game. Then in the second, he had 2 runners on and stranded them. Sorry, that was the third. And then he struck out the side in the fourth. He was rolling. Then he gave up that damn home run. I just don't love it when the Dodgers get into 1-run games. They're a great 2-out team. We know that. Best in baseball with 2-out RBIs. There was plenty of opportunity for that today. Didn't see that gumption, that fight. Did it feel a little bit like there was kind of a day off hangover tonight? Like maybe they just weren't kind of focused and fired up and ready to go. Maybe a little bit. It didn't feel completely lethargic, like a Sunday getaway day where we know that they are just, not paying attention and phoning it in frequently, not all the time, frequently. So I didn't feel that 2-out fire that we've seen from them frequently. And that is something that is beneficial to them. So let's hope they keep the offense rolling tomorrow and get back on track with a win. Because again, they can't afford to start losing games through this stretch right now with the Diamondbacks right around the corner. Padres winning today. Diamondbacks lost, fortunately, so that's good news. The Padres are right there, 3.5 back now, and they're continuing to be white hot or blue hot, which are hotter than red hot. I was looking at the percentages in the standings to make the playoffs. Pretty much right now, the playoff teams are set. In the AL East, Yankees and Orioles, both 99%. Red Sox are only 19%, so they're done. So those two teams are in, basically. Kansas City, Cleveland, Minnesota, all above 85%. Cleveland is 94, Kansas City is 91, and Minnesota 86. Astros are 85. Everyone else in the West is below 20%. On to the National League. Phillies are at 99.6. Braves are 86%. Everyone else is out, basically. Milwaukee's 98%. Everyone else in the Central is out. And in the West, this is crazy. The Dodgers are 99.9%, according to the ESPN stat of what are they? The stat is percentage of chance of making the playoffs. The Diamondbacks are 95.8 and the Padres are 97.4. So it feels like all three of those teams are going to get in. But if the Dodgers start, losing games right now, pissing games away, sorry, that's how it feels if they start losing right now. It's not a good spot to be in with these other two teams hot on your heels. I said 3.5 back. The Diamondbacks and the Padres are both 3 back. So it's a crucial period of time right now for the Dodgers. I don't think they have to win every game, but they got to stay competitive, keep reeling off wins at least every other game. They got to play 500 ball here over the next 10 games because it is it's meaningful, high leverage baseball right now for the Dodgers. 3 games here against the Orioles. And then it is off to Arizona for 4. Then they have the Angels for 2 in Anaheim. And I know the Angels are garbage and they have like a 0.9% chance of making the playoffs, which is basically 0. But they'll get up for these games. They always do. These are the type of, we're going to play this game as if it's our World Series. So they've got 7, 8 important games, and then they got Cleveland right after that. They don't get a pushover until Chicago on September 9th in LA. So 8 meaningful games coming up, and they need to start tomorrow with a win and at least salvage one in this series, whether it's Walker Buehler tomorrow or Bobby Miller on Thursday. They got to get one of those 2 wins. So let's say our prayers for a good pitching outing from one of those 2 guys, whether it's tomorrow or Thursday. And hey, maybe we get lucky and they both go out and perform. They're definitely due, right? So it's definitely a possibility. And as I said, maybe the offense just lights it up tomorrow and puts up 7 runs and they win 7-3 or something. That's the Locked On Dodgers postcast. I'm your host, Pete Fox. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for the comments. Back at it tomorrow right after the game. It starts at 7:10. Again, it's Buehler versus Corbin Burns at the Ravine, and we'll be here on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel to break it down for you. You can also listen on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. Again, thanks for your time. Thanks for watching, and thanks for the comments. We'll talk tomorrow. Have a good night.